the outset, let me thank you, Tomasz, for launching this. You see that there if possible. It's a real privilege to have you launch this, and it reflects a willingness on the part of government to listen to what you, the stakeholders, have said. More than anything else, this is a report that is essentially the product of what we decided to term the digital sector. And when we tried to figure out language to describe what we meant by the digital sector, we realized we were going to define this very broadly, because essentially there's almost no way to limit what the digital sector is. It extends through gaming, script writing, it could include life sciences, web research. Certainly everyone in this room, from lawyers to software architects, are members of the digital sector. And so to serve you and to give you a voice and let you give government your ideas, we decided we would be looking at two things. The first thing that this report looks at is trends of change in the digital sector. And effectively, this is where we asked you for your ideas of what you thought was happening so that we can pass it on to government. And then, because we wanted it to be a practical document, we also included opportunities for government action. Now, this is not intended in any way to be a prescriptive document. It's not intended to be a performance assessment, nor is it intended to duplicate what state agencies are already doing and its valuable work, and they fed into this as well, because once again, they are in the digital sector. So what we did was, the display's a little bit slow, what we did was we asked, I think the ideas are too heavy for our system, we asked you, most of the people in this room probably got this, over phone or over email, 5 questions. The first 3 are reasonably broad. They let you say whatever you wanted to. What are the current policy or other opportunities and challenges that Ireland faces in the digital sector? The second, which emerging trends are potentially dominant in the digital sector? The third, in which niches can Ireland become a world leader? So you were free to say whatever you wanted, and from that we took very useful things. The last 2, what is the most important strategic investment of relevance to the digital sector? What do you want government to do effectively? And that was followed up with the next very immediate question, what are the immediate steps that you want government to take? So we asked a wide range of people. In fact, we had a team of excellent interns and staffers. We phoned or emailed well over 600 people. These are the particularly special people who got back to us. Thank you very much, special people. But it wasn't just that. There's also been a train of meetings. Paul referenced this one with Vivian Redding in the centre. There's been a train of meetings starting off with Larry Sanger, co-founder of Wikipedia, back in October 2007. So this is a place where we've tried to have key people in the digital sector, large, small, whatever, but people with opinions and ideas, meeting people in policy and seeing where we should go next. So, on to the results. Where should we be going next? So let me say that because I don't have much time here, this is just a few almost randomly chosen bits and pieces from the report. I think you all have the time possibly to peruse it superficially. Again, before I begin, let me say this is not a consensus document. What we tried to do was keep everyone at least equally unhappy. So if you all scowl at the end, I'll be incredibly delighted. So, as the Tomasz has said, it's all about education. And why is it all about education? Well, the same question is, why are the 2 Mongolian kids looking at a laptop in a report about Irish education? I think the picture probably says what we're talking about. We're talking about global competition in the next generation. Global competition for trade, for work, for invention. And so the reports that came out, and this was an area of consensus, the reports that came out, or the input that came from the report, was that we needed to look at education in a new way. There were some diverging points of view over where the focus should be. Should it be in the 3rd and 4th sector level? Should it be in the primary and secondary? And I think the weight of opinion was we need to do everything, but the first thing we need to fix is the primary sector, primary level education. And what we need to do is inculcate digital instincts into our kids. If you have young kids messing around with laptops, teaching themselves and being taught in school, it resolves a number of issues. The first thing is, it's a strategic commitment, obviously with a long-term payoff. And the second thing is, you're effectively avoiding what might become a digital divide. If the level of interest in computing is dependent on what the level of interest is at home, you start to see some social consequences arising from that. So, the next thing we found was that there was a general consensus among the stakeholders that this was an area that should be prioritised from the funding perspective. There didn't seem to be any opinion against that, no matter who you were within the digital space. So that was interesting. And all this leads on to the question, why invest in education in the first place? And we came up with trend number 2, total commerce. And the reason why we use total commerce there is a kind of a catchy phrase, but it's coined for this document, and it intentionally reflects the wars of the last century, where societies harnessed the entire population for an industrial war effort. The idea is that everyone is essentially singing off the same hymn sheet, and that's acknowledged across society. So within total commerce, there were 3 trends. First, the internet is undercutting established distribution channels, and it's negating Ireland's historical geographic disadvantage. Second, the internet gives any individual at any location the opportunity to sell or provide services to individuals at any other remote location, and that could be a niche market that they could be tapping into. And the third and important one is that it's lowering the barrier for entry. As you all know, there are platforms and services in existence each successive year that make it easier to enter into some innovative type of business. So the conclusion we took from that is that the smallest unit of commercially viable creativity with global reach has been made even smaller, and it's going to get smaller still. And we would suggest that that's a benefit for Ireland. So what to do about that? Well, the first thing is building on the digital hub, which has been a success, building on that and seeing how some sort of strategic advisory service within the hub can be provided for its members, and seeing how you could start to provide different types of services rather than just giving low-cost accommodation, some strategic services and connectivity, etc. in one spot. Can we build it into something larger? And the first step there might be to convene a kind of a panel of the wise people who are behind the digital IFSC, people with real-world experience in the private sector, and see whether there is a feasibility there for a digital IFSC. Again, taxation came up, and again, venture capital came up. You can read more about that, of course, in the report. I'll skip on because we're short on time. Pervasive internet should be something that's quite obvious. This is a photograph I took of a guy perusing the internet under a tree. I thought it painted quite a picture. I have to admit I took it at Harvard University, so there are certain parts of Ireland where you can do that, but there might be as many as there should be. If you reflect on the development of where the internet has come from over the last few decades, Paul Brand, early 1960s, developed as a technology of military resilience. All the way through to the mid-90s, it still hadn't really made a splash in the popular consciousness. So it's actually only since the mid-90s that this thing is starting to have an impact on our life. We know there's an explosion in mobile connectivity, the digital dividend, the idea that when does the switch over from analog to digital TV, there's going to be spectrum, wireless spectrum cleared up. And also, as Tánaiste made the point, the idea of convergence between telephony and mobile connectivity. All of this suggests that there's going to be a big market in providing services online, but also in being a centre where research into mobile, wireless and spectrum can be based. So this is one of the main recommendations that comes out of the report. There's a few others there relating to e-governance, etc. There's one other I'd call your attention to, because people might even not know what CERT means. It's the last line there. It says mitigating risks of increased dependence on connectivity with a CERT. So a CERT is a computer emergency response team, effectively the first line of defense. If you're running a business and if someone launches some sort of an attack on it and crashes your servers and means you can't do business, this is a real issue, and it's something that one or two stakeholders picked up on, but we would definitely emphasize. So, from all of that, the idea that there's going to be an increasing population online of people connected, the idea that there's going to be increasing broadband width and space for content to be delivered to those people, from all that you might suggest then that there's going to be an increasing amount of content on the net. And what we're suggesting is